We got Imanol Rodriguez coming in at minus 400 going up against Kevin Borjas, who comes in at plus 330. Now, Rodriguez earned his contract to the Contender Series last time around as he knocked out Roque Conceição in the first round of their matchup. Now, prior to that, Rodriguez was a part of the most recent season of The Ultimate Fighter and had a very controversial fight against Joseph Morales in their semifinal, a fight that could have gone either way. I think Morales did do enough to earn that victory, but it was a controversial decision nonetheless, so much so that the UFC decided to give him an immediate shot on the Contender Series, and he came through with flying colors with how he was able to get that quick knockout. Now, Rodriguez comes from a wrestling background, but this guy has done a great job, similar to Santiago Luna, who I talked about in the previous fight, in terms of rounding out his game. His striking has become more dangerous. He goes out there, and I believe he's finished all of his opponents as well. He's very tough to deal with just because of that constant forward work, constant forward movement, and that allows him to break his opponents and eventually get them out of there. He's done a great job in terms of mixing up his training as well. He was on Team Cormier on The Ultimate Fighter, so he followed Cormier back up to California to train at DC's new gym, and it's obviously helped him out there. But he spent the last month and a half down at the UFC PI in Mexico City, surrounding himself with the likes of Daniel Zellhuber, who fights later on in this card, and even Brian Zurcher, who's a high-level prospect who will eventually get another shot to get into the UFC. This kid is really good, and he's still only 26 years old, but he's going to be put up against a tough Peruvian fighter here in Kevin Borjas. Now, Borjas is looking to showcase that he can perform just as well as he did against Ronaldo Rodriguez, where he pulled off an upset that night and just battered Rodriguez over the course of 15 minutes. He nearly finished Rodriguez a few times throughout those 15 minutes, but was unable to get the finish, but still managed to get the dominant decision victory. Unfortunately, he was unable to replicate that against Sumudarji, who ended up sweeping him on the scorecards, easily touching up Borjas from distance, thwarting any type of grappling that Borjas tried to initiate as well. And Borjas eventually kept finding himself in the clinch or shooting for takedowns, but then Sumudarji got out of those positions, touched him up on the feet, and easily won that fight by decision. At his best, Borjas is an educated striker with decent power, and he does a good job in terms of just landing those combinations, getting out into range and trying to get work back to it, and he's also a decent counter striker. But as we've seen in his losses against Joshua Van, Alessandro Costa, and Sumudarji, if he's fighting more slick strikers, he's obviously going to find it hard to have much success of his own. He has decent cardio to go 15 minutes if he needs to. I believe he's also a training partner of Jesus Pinedo, who we know is a high-level striker as well. So you can see the nastiness in his game when he gets into his groove. But he also seems to me like a guy that's kind of a fringe UFC fighter, maybe bottom of the barrel 125er as well. In this matchup against Imanol Rodriguez, it makes complete sense why the Mexican fighter is a chalky favorite. Borjas might be the slightly more technical striker, but I believe the overall advantages that Rodriguez has in this matchup will continue to thwart the style that Borjas wants to bring. Look for Rodriguez to throw big shots with Borjas, but eventually find those moments to change levels and get this fight to the ground, where I really believe he can work Borjas down and eventually work to a dominant and finishing position. I think Rodriguez is legit. I think he is going to achieve his potential, and he will be a kid that one day ends up fighting for the title. He's still very young in his career, so there's no need to really force him to get to the next level so quickly. I'm going to take Rodriguez inside the distance, and I really wouldn't mind him as a parlay piece either here.